voice of the fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass, right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's is money. You can cash it. For news on LA hoops, come over to Peach Basket. Up-to-date sports, post-game reports, debates and play-by-play coming straight off the court.
All right, it is over. The off-season is over, and we're back. It's time to review the 2021-22 NBA season. We are excited to be back, excited to talk basketball, excited to have a semblance of basketball that is more like what we're used to. We went through 2 years of pandemic basketball, bubble basketball, abbreviated seasons, people out with, health and safety reasons. It's been a rough couple of years for basketball fans, but we're back. This will be a full schedule. And again, we're hoping for some semblance of normal this season. We're excited to start the season with a preview of the Western Conference champion, defending Western Conference champion Phoenix Suns, and excited to introduce you all to Nathaniel Malone. He's going to be covering the Suns for us this season. Yeah, he's new, riding with us this season, and he and I are going to talk Suns basketball. This is a great team that I think might have flown under the radar last season. Certainly, we knew they'd be good with the addition of Chris Paul then, and with the time they went 8-0 in the bubble, the only undefeated team in the bubble. So we knew they'd be good. I don't think anybody expected them to get to the finals, to beat the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. But they had a phenomenal year. Next year, they're not flying under anybody's radar. This is a team that people expect to be good. This is a team with a big three that you see here on the screen if you're watching us on video. Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker. This is a team that's got a good supporting cast around them. What we're going to do, Nathaniel and I, we're going to talk about what's changed for the Suns this season, who's new on the team, who is no longer with the team, what Nathaniel thinks is the team's ceiling this year. What's the best that they can accomplish, and then what he thinks is their biggest concern going into the 21-22 season. And finally, I'll ask him to make a bold prediction for the Suns. Nathaniel, glad to have you with us, man. Thank you. Let me just ask you real quick, did you have a good offseason? Are you excited for basketball?
Yeah, I had a pretty good offseason. Usually my offseason from basketball is filled with the start of football, so
sure.
I'm always on sports, It's funny when you were just talking about the Suns saying how no one expected them to get that far. Honestly, I'm gonna get to that in a minute, but I got something to say about that too. About this season, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, did you say it's not going to be easy this season?
It's not going to be easy. I mean, I got faith in my boys. I have faith in my boys, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, no. Couldn't agree more. And I certainly understand, we're sports guys. When one sport's over, we latch onto the other. I tweeted just yesterday that yesterday was a great day because we had football, WNBA, NBA, baseball, all on one day. It's a nice time of year to be a sports fan. So before we get into it, let me remind everybody, we're the Peach Basket, thepeachbasket.net. We are Voice of the Fan. We are home of fan experts, and we exist to amplify the voice of passionate basketball fans worldwide like yourselves. So thank you for joining us. We're excited to be here. We're excited to have Nathaniel with us, and we're excited to talk Phoenix Suns basketball. Let's get right to it. The Suns, again, went to the finals last year. That is the cream of the crop. First time for CP3. I don't know that they needed to change too much, but and they didn't really. The core is still there. Let's start with who is new to the team for the Suns this season.
As you were saying that, I'm like, I used to think the same thing. I'm like, continuity, I feel like it's a very important factor, especially if you were just on the verge. Why change anything? But as I went down the roster and I looked at the players that weren't there, that are there no longer, and the players that they brought in, down the board, they got better in some category, some way. Whether it was they brought in somebody who can pass, they brought somebody who can spell their big man. You know, because DeAndre Ayton was kind of by himself, especially when Sarge went down. I mean, it was. So they brought in players, and I'll speak about a few of them. It's only 5 new players. The first one I'll speak about is Chandler Hutchinson. They got him this year in free agency. He's a 6'6" guard forward, kind of a tweener. He reminds me of Kyle Kuzma a little bit. You know, he's not exactly a outstanding forward, more like one of those wings nowadays. He got like these 6'6", 6'5" wings, so 3-and-D. You know, they like to say 3-and-D pairs like that. He played for the Wizards last year, averaging about 5 points on 15 minutes. So he's solid. He's a good pine rider, as they say. He's a good guy off the bench who can come in, give us a little bit of points. I'm not sure his kind of minutes he'll get. Maybe he's gonna make somebody feel good in camp, and maybe he can get 20 minutes. Man, I don't know. But I'm liking what I'm seeing because a lot of our guys that we lost only average about 3 to 4 points anyway. So when we get somebody who averaged 5, that's nice. You know, we got
that's an upgrade.
So, these numbers don't really jump off the page, but they are better than the stats of some of the ex-players such as Langston Galloway and Etuan Moore, both of which managed to only average 4 points a contest with 11 and 14. So, another new player we have is the 3-year
Daniel,
junior.
let me stop you for just a minute before you move on from Chandler. I'll be honest with you, I'd never heard of him. I don't know who Chandler Hutchinson is, but I clicked on him because I needed to talk intelligently to you about him. He is from my hometown. He's from Mission Viejo, California. That is literally 5 minutes from where I live. That's crazy. So I am now a Chandler Hutchinson fan. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know that we've got any NBA players from this area. That's actually very cool. So anyway, sorry, go ahead. Who's next?
You don't recognize his face? I wasn't too familiar with his name, but I recognize his face a little bit.
No, man. I'm looking at him, and I can't even place him. He played for the Bulls too. You know, my allegiance is to the Western Conference. I think that's part of why. You know.
I get it.
So yeah, but no, that's cool. I know him now, and I'm a fan just because of where he's from. So who's next?
All right. Our next new player, he's a 3-year junior. This is his 3rd year in the league. Landrieu Shaman.
Yep.
I like Shaman a lot. He was with the Clippers, and I think he did good there. And right now he's in year 4 with his 4th team. So now he's on pace to if he plays 12 years, he'll be on 12 teams. So his best attribute I think is his consistency because he's a career 41% field goal percentage, and he doesn't dip down, and he doesn't really get much better. So. But 41 isn't bad. That's kind of on pace with some of the good shooters of the league. Some of the commonplace shooters, I should say. Not the best, but because, Curry is otherworldly, like 48, 49, 50 in this. So, but he's on pace with, I think, is the average shooting percentage, I should say. He's helpful because the last thing the Suns need are below average shooters. So now we get an average shooter. Last year, he averaged almost 9.5 points on 23 minutes a game. So, I think he'll be a good part of our second unit because last year our second unit was a very important part. Cameron Payne came in, and we had guys like Sarge coming in and spelling DeAndre. We had guys like Javon Carter, who was good at playing the point when CP3 needed to take a break. Devin Booker, even though a lot of times he played a good 40 minutes. You still need someone who can take over for him in case, God forbid, but in case, maybe he deals with a hamstring or nowadays we're doing this load management thing. So, we need people who can come in and help out with that thing because I would hate to use him so hard in the regular season that he's just burnt out by the time, April, May. But,
now I can talk a little bit about Landrieu Shaman. Being an LA guy, I know him well. I thought he was great for the Clippers. He hit the biggest shot for the Clippers to date when they came back from 30 some odd points down against Golden State Warriors. He hit the shot that put him in the lead. He's a good player, a good shooter. It doesn't look good, and you talked about it. This is his fourth team in 4 seasons. That's never a good look. But I just think he's got to find the right spot. He's got to find, oftentimes you can have great players who are in the wrong system. And I don't know that he's been in the right system to really, excel. Hopefully the Suns do that for him. I think it's a good fit for him. I think that the Phoenix Suns are going to love him. And I mean, you're talking about a guy who should be a double-digit scorer for y'all off the bench. That's a win. That's a win.
And a lot of times, you look at averages. Okay, he averaged 9.5 points, but there's no doubt in my mind there were some games he scored 12, 15, 16.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I'm not sure what he does other than shoot. I don't know if he's passing pretty good. I don't know if he can get a couple boards, but I mean, if we could last year we weren't the best at shooting, even though we kept on shooting. We was just shooting. I mean, even Devin Booker, he can shoot a little bit, but even him, he isn't one of the top 3-point shooters. I mean, he's like middle 30, low 30. I mean, but he's young. I like our team. We're young. We're not like the Lakers. They are retirement city old.
Hang on, man. Hang on. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. We will later, though. I promise. So who's next after Landry?
Okay, I think this might be a case of getting the biggest name you can get for the lowest price. We got JaVale McGee, which I think everyone in the league knows who JaVale McGee is. Sure. So I think he might be the biggest name that we picked up. It's a little bit of a head scratcher to me, even though I know we needed a big man to spell DeAndre, and I'm not sure if Sarge is even playing this year. But I wish we had looked around. I mean, there's no one else we could have gotten. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and bash him because he's on my team now, so I have to care about him. Kind of like when Joe Flacco came to my Broncos, I had to. All right, I don't like Joe. I don't like him, but I got to love him now. He's my quarterback. Sure. But I mean, he averaged 5.3 rebounds, and Devin Booker averaged 4.2. So, I mean. You're 7 foot tall. I mean, for a career, he's never averaged more than 6 rebounds. But I'm not going to get on him about it. I'm sure he's going to be the backup guy, kind of like he was to Dwight when he was with the Lakers, kind of like he was to Jokic when he was with the Nuggets. So, we'll see what he can do for us. Some say he offers a defensive presence, but honestly, I think he bites too much on fakes. And I'm just being totally honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat anything and say, oh, we got all the best players. No. He bites on fakes. His blocks are lucky. He averaged a block last year again. The block he came last year isn't bad. I think no one in the league has averaged more blocks than Rudy Gobert or I think someone was talking about Time Lord. Like he was, but he's 7 foot tall. You should be able to get a block again, So I think he offers a little bit of something. Enough that they put pen to paper, gave him some money. We'll see what he can do. But nowadays the NBA is very notorious for the trade deadline being like a chopping block. I mean, if you're not good by time then, you're out. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens between throughout the year. And to give you a kind of comparison to him and DeAndre averaged 10 rebounds a game every year he's been in the league, all 3 years. So,
I've always called, and we talked about this before. I always thought of JaVale McGee as a poor man's DeAndre Jordan, right? And DeAndre is a good player, solid player, but never been an all-star, never been, a go-to guy. That's just not who he is. Yeah. He's a guy who you don't have to call plays for, who's going to play adequate defense, sometimes really good defense, who's going to clog up the middle. And that's who JaVale is, right? JaVale is like Landry in that he's been with a lot of teams. I counted 9 in his 13 seasons. But he's always he's just good enough to stick around, right? And man, you can't fault a guy for that, So I like him. I get the feeling, I should say the impression that he's a good locker room guy too. People like him. And there's some value there. But he's going to get a lot of minutes behind Ayton. And Saric has said he wants to come back this season, but that doesn't mean he's going to. And even if he does, how impactful he's going to be is a question. So, McGee is going to be a big piece of the pie here because he's going to get a lot of minutes, I think, behind the big centers, Ayton. Yeah. All right, is that everybody or anybody else new? I know those are the big ones.
Yeah. Well. Just define big. I mean, I think we got one more player that I think you would know, but this other guy, I'm pretty sure you might not know. It's two more players. The fourth new addition is I don't want to butcher his name. Randall. It might be Randall. Randall, a point guard who he last year played 41 games for Orlando, clocking 21 minutes a game and almost 7 points. He adds a backcourt, a solid backcourt player for us because I think that's what really helped us last year with Javon and Cameron Payne. And we still have Payne. I don't know what happened with the contract issues or why some of our players who I felt were kind of the glue. We'll speak about that in a minute. Torrey Craig, the guy I wish we didn't lose. But I think that we added players who can give us things that last year helped us because you want to follow that blueprint, I think. You don't want to scrap it and try something new. But at the same time, even though continuity is good, I think it's important not to be complacent. You don't want to say, all right, we're good here. We did this. I don't want to change nothing, because better believe everyone else is changing something.
Sure. No, exactly right. Let me just comment a little on Randall because, you're right. I never heard of this guy. But this is a 4-year senior from Stanford who went undrafted. And players like that, I've always got a soft spot in my heart for. This is a guy who loved the game. Fought to stay in the game and, has had 5 years of service in the NBA, playing for some really good teams like Landrieu, like JaVale. He's played for a lot of teams in his time. Yeah. But, he's carved out a pretty solid career for him. And you just never know when guys like this, have a breakout season. And this might be one for him. Yeah. You never know. He's a little older, but he's not old, 28. But interesting. This is why I love talking, about other teams because I get to kind of introduce myself to other players. You said there was a fifth new guy.
Yes, sir. The last new guy, and I'm sure you know him, you've heard of his name, it's Alfred Payton. He's a career double-digit scorer coming off a solid 23-minute, 10 points a game season with the New York Knicks last year. I think this is one of the best signs. I think Landrieu Shaman is a good sign, but Alfred Payton, I mean, he's combo guard. That's the 2, that's the 1, maybe even small ball 3. I like Alfred Payton a lot. I know him back when he had the crazy hair. He's cut it down now. From my memory, I think he's cut it down. But
he did.
He just offers solid production off the bench. A lot of these players, I think, are going to be bench players. I think our solid core is set. I think it's set. Maybe Cam Johnson might not start at small forward. I'm not sure. That's up for debate. And I'm not sure who our power forward is. Probably Jay Crowder again. I think he was last year, Jay Crowder. But I think we got a pretty elite force of pine riders. I like to call them pine riders.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's clear we haven't got into who they lost, although you hinted a little bit of it. But it's clear to me that this team got better. Alfred Payton is a solid player. What you look for, I think, for bench players are guys that are a little bit more veteran, right? Late 20s, have been in the league for a while, that aren't going to make big mistakes. And Alfred Payton's a solid defender too. He, you kind of stole my thunder. I was going to bring up the hair because that's always, that's how I remembered him. That's how most people did. But now I think of him as a solid player. He's more than just the hair. So good for him. Yeah, that's a solid pickup. Let's transition then. What's that? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was saying Lonnie Walker too with the hair. A lot of those players, I remember just straight off the hair.
And if you go old school, Dr. Julius, Dr. J, he was the he was the first guy who was known for his hair as much as for his game early on, anyway. All right, let's talk about who they lost. I know you hinted at it a little bit, and there was at least one big piece, right? Go ahead. Who won't be with the Suns this season?
Okay, well, I already spoke on Torrey Craig. I like Torrey Craig. I thought he was a great defender. One thing in this league you cannot have enough of are defenders. You can't have enough of shooters. I think everyone in your team should be able to shoot a little bit, but you cannot have enough defenders. Really, you can't. I'm not sure what happened. I don't really think we have any money, honestly. I don't think we do. But wherever he goes, I wish him luck. Javon Carter is no longer with us. He was a good player to spell CP3 because CP3, it almost seemed like he didn't come alive until the third quarter sometimes, He kind of a slower pace kind of guy. He kind of feels the game out. And so when he sits down, I don't know if he gets tired, he's an older guy. It's nice to have that guy who's also good at running the offense to jump in for him. I'm not sure who will be right behind him this year, but we'll see. We technically lost Damian Jones, but we lost him a long time ago, not in the offseason, so I'm not going to count him. Tyshawn Alexander, a guy who averaged like 1.7 points, he was nothing special. So as I'm on the list, I'm not seeing a whole lot of players that, Etwan Moore averaged like 4 points on 11 minutes, minuscule. Langston Galloway, I kind of like Langston Galloway. I didn't know him too well, but as I watched some of the Suns games and I looked at his own stats, he didn't do anything that jumped off the page. He only averaged 4 points. But he was a shooter, and one thing I told you, we can't have enough of is shooters. I mean, every single team in this league shoots the ball. It's analytical. Everything is analytical. You have to be able to shoot the three-pointer if you want to go toe-to-toe with teams like the Lakers or teams like the Warriors, or if you remember that Cavs team with LeBron, with Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith, they were great shooters. So you just need that. That's if you're mixing a finals soup, you need shooters.
Yeah.
I mean, you need I like to add salt. I think shooters are the salt. I add a whole bunch of salt when I'm cooking something. You need them.
All right. That'd be an interesting article, right? The ingredients needed for a finals appearance. A little salt, a little pepper, a little paprika. Who is what? That's very interesting. Throughout the season, I like to kind of come back to the numbers. You mentioned analytics, and there's a whole carved out work ethic around that, or just kind of divisions that teams employ now around analytics, and obviously there's great value there. But to me, oftentimes it comes down to the numbers. And I think when you look at who left against who the Suns got, the numbers went up. There's more scoring. It looks to be like better veteran leadership. Defensively, they might have stayed the same. This team got better. Would you say? Because it sure looks like it to me.
I would say we got better, at least on paper. Like you say, on paper,
right.
We still have to play the games. But
Yep. Right on. Well, great segue then to the next question. This team went to the finals last season and competed against a very good, very powerful, very strong Bucks team, the ultimate champ, or the ultimate champ, the team that won it all. So clearly, the Suns team is good. They got better. So, I mean, that in and of itself might say all I need to hear. But if I'm asking you, what is the team's ceiling? What's your answer? What is the best this team can hope for in this coming season?
Well, let's start by saying this. They were the second best team in the West. They had they were one game behind the Jazz. I don't think they will be the number 2 team in the West this year, unfortunately. I do think they'll be in the playoffs, but you don't have to be the number 2 team or number 1 team to really make a splash.
Sure.
I think they'll be fine. They'll be somewhere around the 4th or the 3rd, and the reason I say that is because I think we're witnessing the revamping of that Golden State Warriors team, and who knows how good that Lakers team will be. So that just drops them 2 spots right there. I don't believe on paper we're better than them, but then again, I do say our ceiling is in the playoff. We have a playoff appearance, and then once the playoff time comes, it's luck, grit, heart, energy.
Health.
It just comes health, and that's a big problem too. CP3 is now 37, I want to say.
Yeah.
And he shouldered a lot of our scoring last year. If he goes down, Jose, it's not looking good. He shouldered a lot of scoring. There were times where Devin Booker wasn't playing particularly well, and I can go back to a couple games he scored only 6 points. Sometimes he scored only 10 points, and CP3 came through with 30. Or sometimes he moved the rock. He got 12 assists, 11 assists, 10 assists, and that's not something you can sleep on. That's a good amount of passing. And it probably would have been 15, but maybe Ayton missed a shot. Maybe someone else missed a shot,
Right.
So I think that our ceiling definitely is playoff bound. And, like I said, once the playoff comes, it's health, grit, heart, determination. It just comes down to you. So, also, I wanted to throw this in here. If you look at our team, I look down the numbers on our team. We still have our 3 leading block leaders. We still have our 3 leading rebound leaders. We still have our 3 leading scorers. We still have our 3 leading assist leaders. We still have our 3 leading field goal percentage shot makers. We still have 3 of our best 3-point shooters. So nothing really changed on a like the best of the team aspect. But some of the lower tier, like I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I can't think of a good one at the moment. Maybe like you didn't change the outside. It's still pretty on the outside. We just kind of went in and changed a little bit of the inner workings. We threw a couple guys out, brought in some new guys. It still looks still some more same color, the same pattern, but we changed some things that were on the inside,
I got you. Yeah, a little tweaking, man. Just a little fine tuning is what happened. Chris Paul is 36. He's going to be 37 at the end of the season. What scares me about CP, and you brought it up, is smaller point guards in the NBA. They tend to fall off a cliff pretty quickly. And by that I mean, their production falls off pretty quickly. CP last season was remarkable at his age, to do what he did, and 9 points throughout the regular season, 16 points rather, 9 assists. And you mentioned in the playoffs, he just was amazing. He took over, right? He absolutely took over. He did what Devin Booker should have been doing, in terms of really owning that closer role. He was the closer. I think this season, Devin Booker's got to take a step up. Devin Booker's got to be that closer. If they can really, you mentioned load management. If they can be very careful with CP's time, and let him take some time off and make sure he gets to the playoffs healthy, he could do what he did in the last season, this season. But getting there healthy is going to that's a big ask for a guy who's going to be 37 when the playoffs come around. So, this might be the answer, but I'll ask the question anyway. Is that your biggest concern for this Suns team going into the season? Health?
Am I allowed to have more than one big concern?
Absolutely, you can.
That's one of my big concerns. I don't know if it is my biggest concern. I won't say CP3 is my biggest concern, only because he's proven to only get hurt in the playoffs. So at least he gave us a chance to get there. So
I got you.
I'll leave that alone. He usually only gets his biggest injury, like that hamstring. Oh man, that hamstring is terrible in the playoffs. But we've shown we almost got through the entire Lakers without him. I mean, he didn't really do too much against the Lakers. We can say that. He was dealing with like his shoulder, I think, and I don't want to get it wrong, but I think it was the Nuggets that we were up 2 games, and then he came back, and then he kind of just closed the door on the Nuggets for 4-0 sweep. So we were all right without him. I would love to have him, but my biggest concern, I think, is just the development of our 2 stars. CP3 is a star, but this could possibly be his last season, or maybe the one after that. Our 2 stars are Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. I think everyone would agree on that. I want to see DeAndre Ayton own his role as a stretch 5. I heard someone say he was a stretch 5. I don't think he's a stretch 5. Last year, I think he only shot 1 3-pointer. No, I take it back. He only made 1 3-pointer. I think he only shot like 7, something like that. I might be wrong, but he shot a very low number, way lower than he did the year before that. I think he's starting to realize, okay, I'm not that good at this. I want to see him get a little better at it. Be like a Jokic or be like a Anthony Davis, someone who can stretch out the court. I think that'll help us a lot, because it looked like sometimes during some of the series, it was really mucky inside the middle. It was just bodies and bodies and bodies. I'm like, get some of these guys out of here. Everybody get around the perimeter a little bit. I mean, but I think they, teams watch games just like we watch games. And teams look at analytics just like we look at analytics. They know he don't shoot those 3-pointers, so they ain't going to guard him out there. Why do you think every time Ben Simmons steps out the 3-point line, now it's 4-on-5? Sure. So my biggest concern is just making sure our teams, our 2 biggest players develop. I want to see Devin Booker not rely on that jump shot so much. I like his inside game. I thought sometimes he relied on that jump shot too much, and it showed. Remember that game in the finals? They were 2-0 against the Bucks, and we thought it was over. It went to Milwaukee, and Devin Booker, I think he only scored like 7 points. Now, he revealed he had some kind of a minor injury, but my thing is he didn't play well. The other players didn't play that well either. I think CP3 only had 19 points. But my thing is Devin Booker relies on that jump shot so heavily, and I don't even think he's that good of a 3-point shooter at all. But he can get better, and that's what he needs to do. That's my biggest concern.
Completely agree with you on Booker. I think he's been wanting to take that Kobe mantle. He was very close to Kobe. He learned from Kobe. And I want to see that for him as well. I want to see that for Jason Tatum, who's also very close to Kobe. He's got to take a step up this season. He's got to be a reliable closer for the Suns. I could not agree with you more. It can't be shouldered by CP3. He just can't. Ayton is an interesting story because I like his game. He's an old-fashioned center. He does clog the middle. I had to look it up. He has shot 37 threes in his career, right? Guys like CP3 and Devin Booker shoot 37 threes in the first 15 minutes of practice, right? He shot 37 threes his entire career. He's made 7. I just don't know if he's going to ever get that in his game. You never know. But that's a career 18%, 19% rounding up. Listen, I'll be straight with you. I can shoot 19% from the 3-point line. I could. I absolutely could. That's with nobody guarding me though. So, but I don't know that's
funny. It's funny though because I literally heard someone call him a stretch 5, and I had to look at him like, how is he a stretch 5? I don't know if it's because he's shot in college.
Because he's a 5 and he's tall. That's the only way he's a stretch 5. Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. I listen. If I'm his coach, if I'm his agent, if I have his ear, I would tell him, learn to dominate the way Shaq dominated. Shaq never, he didn't shoot threes, and he was, the best player in the league at a point in his career. I think Ayton, and listen, the game has changed. You said it before. The game is played outside the 3-point line now. We're getting 100 NBA in an NBA game. It's not unusual to see 100 shots from beyond the arc. The game has changed, but I think DeAndre Ayton has got to play to his strengths, man, and he is an unbelievably good rebounder, a great shot blocker, really good defender. Play to those strengths, man.
Oh, yeah.
I think if he makes his strengths stronger, if he doesn't worry so much about the things he can't do and just works on being the best at what he's good at, he would be an unbelievably dominant force.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we'll see. But I agree with you. I mean, the game has changed. You got to be able to at least, make a mid-range shot, which he was pretty good at. But I just don't know if he'll ever be able to pull his game out to the arc. But we'll see. That's a great, that's great concern, because they do. When you look at those three that are on our screen right now, it is Booker and Ayton that are going to kind of drive the Suns forward. It can't be CP3. So I couldn't agree with you more. Let's finish with this. And I left this as an optional piece. We're going to be covering other teams throughout the week. I've asked everybody who's doing one of these for a bold prediction for their team. Nathaniel, I know you got one. What is your bold prediction for the Phoenix Suns in 2021-22?
My bold prediction. We're back to an 82-game season, so my bold prediction is we will lose no longer than 60 games. No lower than 60 games, sorry. We will not lose less than 60, but I'm not going to promise we'll win, we'll be like number 2 or number 1. I see us around 3 or 4, but I don't see us losing any less than 60 games. I don't see how that's possible. I mean, last year I think it was a 73-game season, and we only lost 20 games. So I think we'll be somewhere let me see. I got to do the math. 82, subtract 60. I think it's 22. So,
so you're looking at a 60-game season, 60 wins, 22 losses, give or take.
Yes, sir. Yeah, give or take. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking at. I think that's pretty good somewhere to shoot.
No, listen, that's a great season. And I'm going back now to you thinking that they're going to fall behind the Warriors. So if they finish at 60, the Warriors and Lakers are going to be 60 plus. I mean,
I think it's possible the Warriors and Lakers could be 60 plus. I really think that's possible. I don't know. Are you thinking that's not? You're a Clippers guy though, so you want Kawhi.
No. Listen. I tell people all the time, I'm not a Clipper guy. I'm not a Laker guy. I'm an LA guy. I love good basketball, and they both play good basketball. I know I get a lot of grief for that, but yeah, I did follow the Clippers. I did write for the Clippers for another site. But no, the only reason I think it might be difficult is because the Suns, the Warriors, and the Lakers are going to play each other a lot, and being in the Western Conference, being in the same division, it's going to be difficult for any one of those teams to have that many wins. But and the East got better, right? The East is, it used to be you'd play some teams in the East and you just knew you were getting that W, right? You just showed up. It's not like that anymore. Chicago's good. Obviously, the Heat's good. The Bucks are good. Toronto, might not be as good, but I think they're still a good team.
Right.
So it's gonna be tough. I think 60 wins is gonna win the West.
It very well might. I might have been wrong about saying they'll only be third, but the reason I say that they'll. Hey, I'm on the phone. I'm sorry. The reason I say that they'll only win. The reason I say that they'll win 60 games, I didn't mean to say only win. They probably might win. Who knows? I don't know. But the reason I say 60 is because, one, they were just there. You don't know how it feels to be right there. I mean, I remember I was playing football, high school football. We were right there. We lost. And the next year, we went 22-0. We won every single game, including every playoff game. We were hungry. We were angry. So they're hungry, for one. They're angry for two. They got better, as we discussed. They got better.
Right.
Three.
Right.
I think number 4. I think it just adds a little bit when you have a team who when you have a guy on your team who really just wants. I mean, he's at his time. I don't want to be like this, but I don't think LeBron cares about winning another championship as much as he does about hitting that all-time points record. That's what he's in it for. He wants that all-time point. He doesn't want another championship. He probably wants one, But as you saw last year, I mean, LeBron was angry. He was like walking up the court. If he wanted to, they could have beat the Suns. They could have. They were down by like 6 at one point. He was like walking and like he was angry, like throwing the ball. I'm like, come on. Stephen Curry, he has his ring. You know, a lot of the teams with the best players, they have their ring. Chris Paul was here so bad, I think he might murder somebody for it. So that's why I say they're going to be really good this year. He's not letting nobody stop them from winning these. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. I got you. Well, that is an absolute bold prediction. All right, man. We'll leave it on that. I think any way you slice the pie, the Suns are going to be an exciting team, a good team, absolutely a contender in the very difficult Western Conference. Nathaniel, thanks for the time, man. I'm excited to read your stuff throughout the season. I'm excited to follow the Suns. I'm excited to be introduced to some new players that I can't wait to follow. Thank you again. As always, let me finish with this. We're the Peach Basket. We are Voice of the Fan. We are home of fan experts like Nathaniel. And we exist to amplify the voice of passionate basketball fans worldwide. It's going to be a great NBA season, and it's kicked off for us right now. Thanks very much. We'll talk again tomorrow. Nathaniel, thank you.
The voice of the fan making noise, causing havoc. Zone a man up, you can ask Peach Basket. The Peach Basket, coming tune on air. The Peach Basket, where the news begins. We're dropping news like we're in the stands. Creative views from the average fan.